Anyone any clues about this set of stairs?
Well, I thought that was the best clue ever.
The what?
I thought that was the best clue ever that I was singing.
What were you singing?
Oh man, from Oliver. We're going to sing it again. That's the song Nancy sang in Oliver.
Oh, was it?
The Lionel Bart version.
Is that the one about...
She's singing about Bill Sykes.
Oh, she's singing about Bill Sykes.
As long as he needs me.
Oh yeah, as long as he needs me, I'll be there, or something like that. These stairs are tragic. These stairs in the film Oliver Twist are where Nancy's died. Who's read the book? Nobody. We don't really. Oh, you have. Where did Nancy die? Do you remember? Sorry? In the movie, she dies here, and in the book, I read it that way round. However, what else? Do you remember what age Nancy is in the book? She's 12. Yeah, we forget that. We forget how much has changed for women. Not for the police, just for women. We forget how much has changed. And I found out something really shocking this morning, and that was that Boris Johnson is living around the corner from me in a former care home that was a street full of squats. And it just made me think of Nancy. And also we have, what's the other MP's name? Who grabbed a woman by the neck? Anyone know?
Mark Shield or Mark something?
Mark Field, yes, he grabbed a woman by the neck and dragged her out. Has anyone been to Mansion House? Well, I've been lucky enough to be invited there for dinner a few times because I used to run a charity, and you actually get searched before you go in. So the idea of someone having a suicide belt on is really quite absurd. There used to be a plaque that used to actually say Nancy's Stairs, but I don't know what they did with it, but I've got an old photograph that has it on. We're now going to do a bit of a wiggly woggly walk, and as you can see, this is quite different to daytime, which is why I like doing the walk at this time of day. And we're going to go past Southwark Cathedral and then around to the Golden Hind and under a bridge, and then we'll have another stop. Dickens got paid per word for his stories because they were originally printed in newspapers before being turned into books. So if you imagine that you get more money for every word you write, you would write a lot of words. For anyone who's interested, mudlarking is, you have to have a license now to do it. In case you find anything really valuable. So the latest valuable thing that has been found is a pointed shoe from the medieval time. And how many people have had winkle pickers? A few? Yeah. Well, do you know that means you're a very rich person? Because in the Middle Ages, if you had pointy shoes, it meant you were too rich to work. Anyone know how many floors the child is? I think we have to ask Google. We'll have to Google it.
80-something?
It looks like
80-something. Possibly. But I guess that looks like 4 or 5 floors of disco or something. Just a quick mention here is the Golden Hind. It's not the original, it's a replica, and it belonged or had something to do with Sir Francis Drake, and at the moment they're restoring it. The Southwark part of London.
Wasn't it its own king?
It was its own little kingdom, although maybe that's a bit grand. But anyway, it used to be where everybody got a boat or came over the river and had fun and partied. So it was actually the place where prostitution was legal. One of the things I was going to talk about on the walk was pollution, because it's very popular at the moment. But anyone any idea how polluted this river might have been? In 1957, I believe. Sorry?
He said very.
Ah, yeah. In 1957, this river was declared dead. And there was an MP who said it didn't matter because rivers were just places to send sewage through. And we'll talk about that a little bit further along. But as we walk through, we're going to go past the Clink, which is an old prison. This was quite a scary place, the Clink. And yes, we should get a photograph. I think it might be nice for people to have a photograph of the gourmet burger with the Clink signs in between. So it's a name given to all the prisons that have stood on a number of sites in this vicinity. First, 1127 was a cellar in the palace of the Bishop of Winchester. And the last was in Dead Man's Palace, Park Street. It held Protestant and Catholic religious martyrs at various times, and it was closed in 1780 when it was burned by the anti-Catholic Gordon rioters. Well, we don't tend to have many anti-Catholic rioters that I'm aware of at the moment. It's an interesting thing to see, but it's quite interesting how it leads on to Wagamamas and an anti-homeless people's device so that they can't sleep in the window of Wagamamas. So now you know. Coming back onto the river, and it's quite amazing because it's quiet. So we talked about mudlarking. So if you have a look over here, you'll actually see that the tide's out. And if you want, in my folder I've actually got quite a lot of photographs of things people have found in the river, and it includes lots of clay pipes and lots of crockery, as well as the pointed shoes. But there's something else. Anyone any idea what people might have chucked in the river?
Bodies.
Bodies, there's plenty of bodies. And guess what there's a body of?
A lion?
No, further down that way was the body of a Roman woman gladiator.
Oh.
Which is quite spectacular and quite special. I don't know if you can imagine, but all of this used to be marshes. Might be quite hard to imagine that. If you imagine, like now you have BBC News 24/7, theatre was your news, it's where you got to find things out. It wasn't just entertainment. But just so that you know, if you're ever in Borough High Street, there's a pub, what's it called?
The Globe?
The George.
Oh, George.
Yeah. It's very famous, Shakespeare drunk in the George. And if he didn't, then they'd invent it so that he did. But Shakespeare apparently lived around here. But there's some great views from here. So I don't know if anyone knows about the walkie-talkie building and about the fact that it actually melted a car. Anyone remember that when it was first built? And then there's some other, I don't know who controls the skyline in London really, but that's the city over there. And this is a bit of protected skyline.
Yeah, the last slither.
The last slither. And it's St Paul's. So this is Yes,
What,
this is
and they
very
actually
true.
said that, and
They
everyone was
actually
like, yeah, we're going
said
to do
that
that.
in one of their Section 10. Section 106 is when developers get given permission. So this is the beginning of this urban forest that is meant to stretch from here to the Elephant and Castle. This is kind of an area where we start seeing some of the industrial buildings, and on our left we'll go past, if you look out, I'll point it out when we get there, it will be the sea containers building, which is now dominated by a 52-storey One Blackfriars building because of all these new skyscrapers. And we'll also pass the Oxo Tower. Unimpressed with the selection of flat pack bridges offered, a design from the Argos catalogue was chosen via public vote in the spring of 1757. The instruction booklet was lost. Everyone remember or heard of the Sex Pistols? Yeah. And they sang, "God save the Queen, she ain't a human being. God save her." And England still hasn't had a revolution. But there we go. So we're on the Silver Jubilee Walk, because until that time, most of this was just ungettable to, because of it being factories, and this being one of them. So this is the Oxo Tower that was a meat factory, and it now belongs to a community group who are called Coin Street Community, and they fought for a long time, and it's artists and creative businesses and a few kind of restaurant-y things that are housed in this. Plus they've got the building behind, which is called the Barge House, and from now all the way basically to Waterloo Bridge, Coin Street builders managed to get quite a lot of properties, and well done them, because they managed to secure all sorts of affordable homes.
Is it named after the Archangel, or was there another Gabriel? Well, it's loads of Gabriel.
But we're now very much into this quite new area, and which leads us to, how many people have like going to the cinema? Yeah? How many have been to the BFI?
No.
No?
Yeah.
So the BFI and television studios and things are kind of over there on the left. And every summer they have like festivals of market stalls and things like that over there. This used to be actually a factory, and it was a factory run by a woman who you've got on my laminated sheets. I think it's Eleanor Cole, and she was quite unique for her time. Not only didn't women run factories, women didn't really earn money, and also she developed her own recipe for cement. And when we get to Westminster Bridge, there's a lion, and that used to sit on the top of her factory. And when they removed it from the factory, underneath was a time capsule, and it was full of money. She'd hidden money under it for somebody or some reason. And also, she left women friends of hers money in her will, and their husbands were not allowed any of the money that she left them. That was one of the conditions. So she was quite a character, and it has taken until about, I think just recently, I'm not sure if it's in the last 4 or 5 years, to actually uncode her recipe for the cement. So it's quite a special. So next time you see the lions at Westminster Bridge,
Well,
have
is
a
that her
thought.
recipe and it's meant for them?
It's her recipe,
Yeah, right.
and they look really
Like stone.
yeah.
Mm.
I remember because I used to run a stall at Pride. It was great, and and lots of people did. And it used to be it wasn't a paid festival, so everyone in London went to Pride, who I guess thought of themselves as a bit alternative or a bit different. And it used to be here. I can't imagine that now, but yeah, Jubilee Gardens. Another dedication to our Queen. We're going to be coming up to the London Eye, which was built for the millennium. And then you can just about see Big Ben, which I think at the moment looks more like a Christo exhibit.
The HP sauce bottle even up
And
to look like that.
oh yes, so there's HP sauce, which is very special to the UK. Which is Houses of Parliament. It's like a brown sauce. It's horrible. Well, I don't like it anyway. But there you go. So we'll walk onto the Eye, and then we'll take a stop at County Hall. I don't know if any of you remember, but you see that building over there? That's quite colourful. Anyone know what it used to be?
Oh,
County
GLC
Hall.
building.
The GLC building, London County Hall.
County Hall before it got moved to
County Hall for
County
Londoners.
City.
The new
Can't have
conference
that.
office.
We certainly can't have that because... Does anyone remember what wonderful Prime Minister we had? Thatcher. See, that didn't even take memories, did it? Mrs. Thatcher, exactly. And she decided that County Hall wasn't needed. So she got rid of it. And it's now a hotel. And County Hall, I think it lasted for about 100 years.